podcast party. Descent into Avernus.
My name is Renascence. My friends and I have finally made it back to the Catacombs under High Hall Cathedral with Grand Duke Ulder Ravengard. We're just hoping Sister Feria Jinx will be able to revive him.
The four of you, plus of course Lulu and Reya Mantlemorn, have come back to the Catacombs underneath High Hall Cathedral. And you guys have sealed the entrance back to the main level.
We have to get to Sister Jinx as soon as possible.
Corbin's carrying the Duke, right?
Correct. Yep.
Ofelia, do you want to try messaging Sister Feria just to make sure that we're not walking into a situation down here?
Yes, of course. Sister Feria, are you here?
You get a response pretty quickly. Oh, thank the heavens. Have you retrieved the Duke?
We have. There is a bit of a... Well, why don't we show you? Is it safe? Are you in the sanctuary where you usually are?
Yes, we've not been able to leave for fear of being accosted by those hellish minions.
We'll be there momentarily, but we may need some assistance from you when we arrive with Ulder Ravengard. You'll see.
And she ends the message.
I'm going to use prestidigitation to clean everybody up on the way.
Love that.
While we pass it, I just take a glance down to where the knight, is entombed to see if it looks like anything has been disturbed or changed about her resting place.
You look down towards the tomb of the fallen soldier. You don't see anything different. Again, that sword is laying next to her body. Her body completely and totally and magically preserved from the time when she faced off against that horrendous foe.
I think we need to proceed north from here to reach the sanctuary, if I recall.
You do, in fact, see that barricade that was created in order to prevent any incursion, and just beyond it, through the small cracks in the wood and metal, you do see Sister Feria Jinx next to Seltern the Druid. Seltern O'Branch, who you remember as the druid who you rescued underneath all that rubble on the main floor of the cathedral.
Sister Feria, Seltern, it's us. We've got Duke Ravengard.
Oh, thank goodness. Please. And she calls to two guards who hurriedly move all of the various pieces of detritus out of the way so that you can enter.
Right, we will make our way past the barricade.
As you enter with Ulder Ravengard, Sister Feria Jinx's face screws up with concern, and she looks at him with this rather ornate helmet on his head, and she says, Is that it?
It seems that the Duke found the helm that he was looking for, but it may have been more than he was expecting. We're afraid to try to remove it from him. He seems to be locked in some sort of trance and might be fighting off possession.
Possession? And she slowly moves her hand to the Duke's head, but does not touch the helm. And she looks at his face, which is partially concealed under the helm, and has this intense look of worry.
Are you able to help him?
This is a very powerful magical artifact. I must have some time to think. You may place him within one of the alcoves. You look much worse for wear than when I saw you last. Are you well?
We had some trouble in the cemetery recovering Duke Ravengard.
I see.
There were some devils and some demons.
Demons as well?
Yes, there was a portal under the cemetery, and demons were entering from the abyss.
Oh, that is horrendous. You, I assume, rescued Duke Ravengard from their clutches and then ran for your lives, I would hope.
Yeah, that pretty much does about sum it up. We're hoping that if you can help the Duke recover, he might be able to provide some information about getting us all out of here.
I understand. A moment, please. And she takes a step away, and as she does so, she signals for Seltern O'Branch to come with her. Seltern and Feria step aside and walk towards the font of holy water to the southeast of you.
While she's doing that, I will just gesture for Corbin to put the Duke in one of the side chapels. Maybe not the one closest to the barricade, just in case we have a barricade problem, just so he's not right near where the barricade goes down, but one of the ones a little further in.
Renaissance.
Yeah.
When are we going to tell her about Gideon Lightward?
I'd prefer to wait until the Duke's recovered, see if he had any dealings with Lightward first.
Okay.
If the Duke saw him and what he'd become, then he'll be able to substantiate our story and what we had to do.
Okay.
Corbin will sit with older Ravengard, and he's just going to look him over, see if there's anything he could possibly do. He'll do like a medicine check on him, and then after he checks him, he'll just sit there and pray to Ilmater to help him.
Go ahead and make your medicine check.
Ooh, that's a 22.
Nice.
You don't see any grievous wounds on Alder Ravengard, which is certainly a relief. Beyond his clear problem with that helm, he seems actually in quite good shape. He's a very tall, very strong man. Beyond his physical strength, though, you spot lines on his face which look like he's been a man that hasn't smiled quite a lot.
What do we know about Ravengard's personality and history as a Duke?
You could make a history check if you'd like.
That is a total of 8.
Those who know him fear him and respect him at the same time. So it's not often that rumors come out about himself from a personal perspective. You know that he is a very well-respected military commander. He's been on the Council of Four for quite a while, actually, in Baldur's Gate, and doesn't look like he's in any position to step down anytime soon.
While Corbin's tending to him, I'm just going to stay near that chapel, and I'm going to keep an eye on the other refugees that are here in the sanctuary and see if anyone seems to be trying to approach the Duke or watching us, like spying on us in any way.
Most of them, having seen Duke Ravengard, they come over to take a look, their mouths open a little bit in surprise and or concern, but then most, if not all of them, see he's in your care and walk away. It seems at this point in time you don't even need to make an insight check, that they're really more concerned with their own survival than with his.
If I cast Identify, can I determine more about what the source of this magic or possession or like what's going on with him? Can I apply it in that way?
You'd have to touch it.
You will have to touch it.
Can I try an Arcana check first?
Well, what is it that you're trying to glean with your Arcana check? Because Arcana is not a detect magic spell.
Right, it is not. It is not, and I understand that.
But I want it to be.
I want it to be. What I'm really trying to do, I guess, is determine whether or not it would be safe to cast Identify based on the sort of magic knowledge I have about how items might get enchanted or like about how this went. You know what I mean? Like,
I understand what you're trying to say. You basically cannot touch it, right? Without
getting possessed myself or, you know what.
A farewell to arms.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Go ahead and make your Arcana check.
Okay, that's a 12.
With a 12, you're unsure. You don't know if casting the Identify spell, which if you cast it with a single spell slot versus a ritual, because you'd have to hold on to it for 10 minutes if you wanted to use a ritual and not spend up a spell slot, you have no idea what might happen to you. You only know what has been spoken about it, that this is a very powerful magical object, and using your sense of logic and what happened to Duke Ravengard, who knows?
Yeah, I don't think I should risk it.
I could ask Ilmater a question about it, but...
Is it a good idea to touch this?
All right, Corbin will pull out his that tapestry of Avernus, flip it upside down, and he'll pull out his other items. The 4 azurite gems, the 4 Vanthamper electrum pieces, these are supposed to represent us. Broken shards of glass from Torm, and he's going to ritually cast Augury, and then he's going to toss them down around Older Ravengard's head to see if touching this helm, good idea or bad idea. Ilmater, help us.
After your 10 minutes are up, and you throw the objects on the ground and see their placement. You are keenly aware that Ilmater has sent you a rather confusing response, and that it is neither good nor evil, but a mixture of both potentialities. Will touching it be good or bad or a bit of both? And the answer is clearly the third. A bit of both.
I think it will help us and do good things, but look at him. Bad things happen, so it's dangerous.
Maybe since it already has him in its clutches, someone else touching it wouldn't necessarily harm them. Because it's otherwise occupied? I don't know.
Or it would transfer to us. That is a possibility as well.
He's very powerful, though.
Was Older Ravengard a lawful man, or was he...
He was strict and feared. He was definitely concerned with the law. Whether he was concerned with justice is a thornier question, I think.
Was he a good man?
Who could say?
Well, at least Thavius Krieg didn't think he would be a good confidant.
True enough.
Sister Jinx and Seltern Obranch come back and say, "We think we have a way forward." Obranch nods and says, "Yes, I'll leave the talking to Sister Jinx." And she sort of scrunches up her face a little bit and looks over at him and says, "Thank you, Seltern." Kind of like, go wait in the car. Sister Jinx says, "This object is a very powerful, good influence. But the fact that this place and the whole city has been dragged into hell, as well as the demonic influences around it, it has corrupted the helm and could potentially corrupt the wearer as well. There is an altar of Torm above. It, from our last report, has been physically corrupted by demonic influences. This altar, in order for the helm to follow suit, must be cleansed. There is a ritual that I am able to perform, or can teach one of you to perform, if perhaps that is the way forward. And once this altar is restored, then it is likely that the helm may lose its grip on Duke Ravengard."
Well, I think it's certainly worth a try.
Very well. It is likely, and she looks down, a certain look of concern and or fear, that tampering with the altar may draw out the demonic influences within, with Ravengard present as well. He would be absolutely vulnerable to physical as well as mental attacks upon his person. We must guard him whilst this ritual takes place.
Yeah, I'm also a little bit concerned that while this lower level, the sanctuary, seems protected somehow from the fiends, the same can't be said for the rest of the temple. I mean, the High Hall is a little bit open to the elements right now, so to speak.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you could write down this ritual or describe it to us? Because I think it would be very dangerous for you to go up there.
Absolutely. There are certain incantations and a passage that you must recite over and over the course of a certain period of time, and your presence must stay close to Ravengard, as well as your hand to touch the helm during the time when the ritual takes place.
Fuck.
Could we possibly cast the dome over the altar and us and Ravengard?
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's a spell that Corbin can do. It creates a protective dome over all of us. Magic can't penetrate it.
Yeah, he actually used it the other night when we stayed here to protect himself and some of the refugees. But the thing is, Hylan, it sounds like from what the sister's saying that fiends might come out of the altar. Is that right, sister?
Oh, I thought they would just be attracted to it.
Well, that's I mean, I think it's not a bad idea because it might stop other fiends from joining in.
That is true. If this dome protects those within, for certain, it would prevent outside influences. But the helm itself is where these particular demonic forces would issue from.
Right, but even so, at least then we would just be dealing with whatever comes out of the helm and not whatever attention gets drawn to us while we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I have to stay in the dome, though.
Yeah, well, we'll probably all be in it. We'll sort of make the dome around everything, and we'll have to fight inside it probably, but at least whatever fiends come out won't get any help from any other fiends that might happen to be loose inside the temple complex.
I may have a bit of a fly in the ointment, unfortunately. First part of the ritual is that the altar be consecrated with holy water taken from the font, and she gestures to the font to the south. The second is that a powerful symbol of courage and self-sacrifice is needed to empower this ritual.
I was afraid it would be this.
That is the great sword of the unknown hero.
I'm just concerned that's the only thing that's stopping the fiends from coming down here.
That is also likely.
All right, when you say that it may take some time to complete the ritual, do you mean minutes or hours?
Oh no, not hours, for certain. The ritual itself only takes 30 seconds to recite.
30 seconds can be a long time when you've got fiends coming, though. Here's what I think. We're in no condition to do this now.
Right.
Yes.
We take a rest. Then, we'll learn the ritual. I don't think we should expose Sister Feria to this. Get the sword. Get the Duke. Go up. We'll complete the ritual. There's probably going to be fiends jumping out of the helmet, right? But we'll be inside the dome. And then free the Duke from the helm, and then bring the sword back down here as quickly as we can so that we can put it back in place.
Would it be better for one of us to learn the ritual but have her do it? That way we could protect her. One of us would be doing the ritual and not part of the fight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not sure I understand that.
He's saying if you're doing a ritual, then that's your action and you can't be assisting in a fight.
It seems like you read a prayer, but the important thing is just to hold on to the helm for 30 seconds or whatever, Matt. Am I correctly interpreting that, Matt? That it's not like the person is completely, like, that's all they could do. They just have to have one hand on the helm.
That's correct. You have to have one. It's actually, this is of course imparted to you by Sister Jinx, that the sword itself must be placed upon the altar in the hands of Duke Ravengard, and that the magical purity of the sword, as well as the recitation of this spell, technically, will be powerful enough over the 30 seconds to remove the corruption, not only from the altar, but from the helm itself.
Question just mechanically is like, is that person essentially sidelined?
Technically, they just have to have one hand on Duke Ravengard. It just means that you can't move. You can't move from that position.
I think that should be me, to be honest.
No, I think you need to fight.
You need to fight.
I think it should be me.
Are you sure?
I'll just stand there. I can put up my sanctuary. I think...
Reya stops all of you, and she says, "Stop. It should be me." And she just leaves it at that.
I agree.
I put a hand on her shoulder. You want to do this?
More than anything.
Then I think it's what you're here for.
She nods.
I'd still like to stay close to Reya and the Duke during the ritual because I can keep them in my aura.
Mm-hmm.
Which will help protect them.
I quite agree.
First thing in the morning, we'll try to set things right.
So shall we rest?
I'd like to go, before I sleep, to the hallway where the soldier is laying and get to a respectful distance and just sit there quietly with reverence. I don't think I can communicate with her or anything, but just try to embody respect and project my intentions for what we're going to do with this sword and that we're not trying to defile anything. And I'm going to do that for probably like a half an hour, and then I would go back and rest.
You do feel better after having at least spoken the words.
I'm going to rest next to the Duke in hopes that maybe my aura might be able to help him in whatever spiritual war he's fighting right now.
Corbin will ritually cast Liamon's tiny hut around the Duke just to keep him safe, and he'll let in his friends, but no one else, including that druid. That druid's always just like, hey, you do it. Hey, someone else.
Reya nestles in. Lulu flies in a circle and finds her own little spot, and then tucks tail and goes to bed as well.
Like a dog does that circle thing.
Feria Jinx does not sleep in your area. She sleeps on the other side of the Catacombs area. Many of the other commoners also, seemingly with their own families, huddled as they are, find some measure of rest as the guards patrol to and fro, just in case demonic or devilish incursions were to occur in the middle of the night.
We should probably sleep in shifts just to be extra careful, right?
I'll take the first watch.
Take the second.
Corbin will take the third.
Hylan, as you fall asleep, your muscles uncoil and you find just the very presence of Lulu, who you see sleeping next to you, a distinct comfort. Your eyes close and you dream. But first, before you do, please make a wisdom saving throw. Hi, everybody. Dungeon Master Matt Gordon here. The show will be back shortly for the second half, but right now it's time to give you a live event update and news about how you can play Dungeons & Dragons with us. Have you ever wanted to struggle to understand how to cast a ritual on a helmet possessed by demons, like our heroes did in this episode? Well, our professional Dungeon Masters are available to hire for online games. We have games for kids as well as for adults, and our DMs can run many of the official Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition adventures, including Curse of Strahd, Lost Mine of Phandelver, Icewind Dale Rime of the Frostmaiden, Dragon of Icespire Peak, Storm King's Thunder, Critical Role Call of the Netherdeep, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, and even Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. Check us out at cast-party.com and follow us on Facebook at CastPartyDND, on Twitter at CastParty2, or on Instagram at cast_party. As always, we're offering free monthly online adventures with our Dungeon Masters. These free games do fill up quite quickly, though. So if you'd like to grab a spot, you should join our email list or our Discord server. Links to both can be found at cast-party.com. If you enjoy Podcast Party, please follow the show, rate us, and leave us a hopefully very nice review. We'd love to hear from you. Message us on social media or email us at info@cast-party.com. Follow us on Facebook at CastPartyDND, on Twitter at CastParty2, or on Instagram at cast_party. Hey, you out there. That's right, you, the one who's listening to this podcast right now. Thank you so very much for listening. And now, back to our adventure in Avernus.
That's a nat 20 for a 24.
Hylan, your mind slips into darkness, and you are walking in a beautiful golden field of wheat. You have no weapons at your sides. Instead, you're wearing a long white gown. You look down at your hands. You don't see any sign of hard work that you've put in over the years that have caused you to have sort of these calluses in your fingers. They barely look like your own hands. You feel different. You don't feel like yourself, really. As you walk through this field of wheat, you come across a pure, clear pond of water without any ripples at all. It looks absolutely gorgeous, something that you haven't seen in Baldur's Gate probably ever. What do you do?
I'm going to take a deep breath and exhale with a smile on my face, and I will look down into the pool.
When you look down into the pool, you do not see a face that you recognize. Instead, you see a very angular but very soft around the eyes visage with the same color of your eyes, though, golden. The skin is immaculate. It is pure. It is without blemish, and the hair is long and golden as your eyes. You don't recognize the face, but at the same time, just by looking at it, you know that this is a face of kindness, a face of goodness, a face of purity. At first, just from the natural shock of not seeing your own face, you retract perhaps a little bit from the pool. But as you look deeper into the pool and see this face, you feel calm, you feel comforted.
Maleetiom, we are one, here as we always have been. It is wonderful to see you this way.
As you look down into the pool and say these words, your reflection does not mirror your own words, but instead, seconds later, the reflection of the angel Maleetiom responds. You are in peril. Why do you tarry here amongst the hellish invaders?
Because there's a job to do. Cannot leave them. Can't leave them here.
Your destiny is intertwined with your compatriots, but you must achieve the goals which you were born to do.
Is it predestined? Can I not shape it?
Free will is given to mortals, but you are not wholly mortal. The essence that runs through our veins runs through yours.
I know, and that brings me great happiness. And I know that is a privilege and also a call to action. And I believe I'm following that call. What I've always tried to do is understand as much as I can what it is I'm needed to do and follow it like the North Star. All I can do is take steps towards it. I'm still a human. I'm not exactly like you. But there are some strengths that come with that. And one of them is you feel connected to others. And then when you're connected to each other, you grow in strength. I don't want to be here in Avernus. None of us do. But I do feel like when I came here, I was walking in the direction of that star. And I can't stop until I've done my best to help. I will listen to anything you have to say if you have words of advice for me.
Since the time you were born, we have been your guide, not your master, not your teacher. Your life is your own. But as destiny has many heads, you must choose which path to go upon.
I think my path for now is to find a way to free these people who were lied to and manipulated and plunge down into this horrible place. They feel hopeless, and I feel hope, and I want to help them remember and bring them back to their homes. And I want to find this angel that lost her way and see if there's any way to save her.
When you speak these words, the reflection in the pool begins to darken, and ripples begin to appear in this once serene pool. And the face that you see in the pool, their hair begins to float behind them. And the voice, with a tinge of anger, says, "You cannot save what has been lost. You may only save those that have been imprisoned, not of their own choice. That is what you were born to do."
With respect, with the greatest love for you, I will still try if I can. If I can't, I won't let that stop me from taking care of it, from stopping her, from hurting anyone else.
The face in the pond looks with a degree of sadness back into your golden eyes and says, "I understand." This is the first time that Maleetiom has actually used the pronoun of I, ever, in their speech to you. And the voice shifts. It is no longer that of a godlike voice that echoes through your mind. It now becomes much more commonplace, much more human, and it reminds you of your mother. And the voice says, "Hylan, half the evil in this world occurs when decent people stand by and do nothing wrong. It's not enough to refrain from evil, Hylan. People have to attempt to do right, even if they believe they cannot succeed. Even when it's stupid to try. In fact, especially then, that's how it's done. You break your heart against this stony world. You fling yourself at it on the side of good, and you do not ask the cost. That's how you do it." And then the face in the pond turns to a face that you do recognize, and it is your own.
I'm going to get down on my knees and put my hands over my heart and gently sort of bow a little bit and say, "I am blessed to have had you in my life, both of you. You have taught me so much. I will make you proud. I love you."
and your dream fades into darkness. Corbin, you shut your eyes, and I'd like you to make a wisdom saving throw.
You will have +3.
With +3, that's a 25.
When you shut your eyes, your mind floats into that same inky darkness. Your psyche is awakened once again through dream in a different place, but it is a place that you do recognize. It is a dining room with a roaring fireplace, stone all over the floors, the walls, the ceiling, pictures of strange landscapes all throughout on all the walls. Walls that extend to ceilings that are vaulted. It's almost as if you're in a sort of strange, dark cathedral. And in the midst of this room, a large, dark wooded table on which you see plates as if prepared for a dinner party. The scene is the exact same as what you remember when your partner, Cassandra, took you into her good graces and brought you back to the world of the living. But as opposed to the last time that you remember being in this place, you do not see Cassandra there. There is, however, a doorway that was shut at the last time you were here, which is now open, spilling golden light from the room beyond into the room that you are currently in. And you do hear a voice coming from that space.
Do I recognize the voice, or can I hear what they're saying?
It is a very low, almost inhumanly low, gruff voice. Can't really make it out, but I would say just by the tone of the voice and the volume that it does not sound pleased.
Corbin is going to walk over to the fire. He's going to look into the fire for a second, and he's going to unlace his breeches, and he's going to take a piss into the fire.
That's metal.
And just sort of smile, say, I guess we're doing this again, huh? I got a funny story for you if you want to hear it.
You say this sort of to no one, right?
Yeah, right. Just looking around the room as he's got a good stream going. He just finishes, just laces back up. He'll look over at that open door. All right, I'll play. He'll go to the table and he'll grab a glass of wine, and he'll not drink it, but he will walk over to it.
As you walk towards the door, the voice becomes more distinct. It is a male-sounding voice, although the voice is too low in pitch to be possibly human. The words are in Infernal.
I told you they'll never get to that place. You must have him take her soul.
At which point, you hear a female voice respond. The voice of Cassandra, who languidly responds,
My love, don't you trust me? I know what I'm doing.
The male dark voice responds,
I know, I'm so tired of it all. Can't you work any faster?
Cassandra responds,
I'm doing everything within my power, just as you have done everything in your power. You must have patience, my love. They will come through in time. I know for certain that the soul coin will be of extreme use to us when the time is right.
The male voice responds,
Here's the coin, and you're sure that it will take that soul? It is a powerful soul. It will remain within the coin, yes.
Of course it will. That's what they're designed to do, Belle. The voice says this word, Belle. Make a religion check, Corbin.
A 10.
You have no idea what or who Belle is. The voice of Cassandra continues,
As long as we stay the course, and you don't trip up in what you do, you'll get what you want, I'll get what I want, and all will be well. Now, go back and have faith, will you?
There is a disquieting silence, and then...
Wait, do you hear?
And then you hear the sound of movement. Maybe the sound of like fabric moving off of fabric, like sliding off of fabric.
Like a bed?
Like a bed, or perhaps off of a chaise lounge or something like that. And then the click of heels moving in your direction.
Corbin would just like to casually lean against the wall and wait for her with a smile.
The shadow of the archdevil known as Cassandra looms in your direction, and the click, click, click of her booted heels comes down the hallway and turns the corner into your view. And she is just as you remember her. Glowing red eyes, hair lustrous and black in a very revealing outfit, leather and metal adorning her frame, and 2 small horns jutting from her forehead. And she smiles at you and says, "Corbin, coming unannounced? We haven't even had dinner yet."
"I've been waiting for like half an hour. What are you doing? I've got other things to do."
"Well, you can certainly leave if you'd like."
"Can I tell you a funny story first?"
She relaxes and sort of leans against the wall right next to you, maybe a foot from you, and says, "Only if it's really funny, Corbin."
"It's really funny. Here, have this."
And I hand her the glass of wine.
She looks down at it and says, "Oh, thank you, dear." And she takes it and puts it to her lips.
"All right, so I went to a library, a big one called Candlekeep. You ever hear of it?"
"Of course I've heard of it, Corbin."
"Really, it's funny. Here's the funny part, because to get in there, you have to give them a book, right? And Ren, my friend, had this book, and I scribbled my name in it, right? Corbin, right? He didn't know I did it. And when he gave it to the library took it, right? So my name is in a book in that big fancy library. That's kind of funny, right?"
"I'm sure there's a point to all this, Corbin."
"Oh, right. So the funny part is, I looked up you in that library. They have no idea who you are. You're not even in there. You're nobody."
And Corbin just laughs at her.
Her smile immediately fades, and her eyes begin to glow with a red, hellish light coming from within. And she says, "Well, of course they don't know, silly." And she takes her long, pointed nail and sort of pokes it into your furry chest and says, "Do you really think that I told you my true name?"
"So you lied?"
"Devil."
"All right. That's good to hear, I guess. Anything else you need from me? Because if not, I want to go."
"That was funny, Corbin."
"I'm not scared of you, you know that, right?"
"If you were, Corbin, then we wouldn't have a business relationship."
"Oh, is that what it is?"
"Well, everything is business down here. It's not personal, although you're trying me, and I like that about you."
"You know, bugbears lie too. Remember that."
She looks you up and down and says, "I have other business to attend to with people more important."
"As do I."
She turns on her heel, goes through the doorway, gives you one last look, and blows you a kiss just as she did the last time, and shuts the door.
I swat her kiss away like a fly.
You awake with a start.
Oh. Corbin wakes, and for the first time in a long time, he feels good because Corbin has a plan, likes the way this is going.
Renascence, you take your shift. Please go ahead and roll me a wisdom saving throw.
That is a 25.
As your eyes close, Renascence, you drift into calm, relaxed place in your mind where you're able to finally sleep. And although you know you are in the worst of all places, you are able to feel that you are protected amongst your friends and in this holy place. The only real close relationship that you have that you know that you could depend upon wasn't even with a god. It was with another person. It was with your brother. He was the one that gave you that name, the name of Renascence, the name that means rebirth, a new beginning. And as you slip into sleep, you find yourself in a dark, fog-laden landscape. You are not in Avernus, at least not in your dreams. And through the mist and fog, you are able to see a shape coalesce. This shape is still a mist. It is not physical. It's translucent. You can sort of see through it. But almost immediately, the echoing voice of your brother, Tomas, comes through the fog to your ears. Garen, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tomas. How are you talking to me?
Well, I got let out of prison and I got escorted to this place, Candle Keep. The people here said that you were here before I was.
That's true. Hope they're treating you well.
Oh, it's lovely. It's really, really nice. They believe everything I said, too. There's this woman here, her name's Silvera. She's really interested in what I have to say. I have to be honest with you. I'm a little giddy at the fact that people actually believe me.
Have you met the Tressum?
Are you talking about the flying cat?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's cute. I like it. It keeps eating from the kitchens and they keep swatting it away, but I like it. Slobber Chops, that's the one. Slobber Chops there. I love her. I love her to pieces, but that's not the reason why I'm here, Garen.
Go on.
Garen, I had a vision again. It was different. It was different from the ones I've had since we was kids. It's a vision in two parts, though. It feels like I'm torn in two places and I don't know which way to go.
Why don't you describe it to me?
It's like I'm walking down a road. There's these things that are like trees all around me. I can't go left, I can't go right, but I finally get to a crossroads and I can see that there's a signpost. And the signpost has these awful letters on one side and awful letters on the other, and they're written in blood and ash. And one says, the path of demons, and the other says, the path of devils. And I don't know what it means.
Do you think it could be one of your special visions, Tomas, like something is going to happen?
Oh, it's special, all right. That's why I'm here, trying to speak to you.
Do you think I'm going to come to two roads like that? Do you think that's a choice I have to make?
I don't know.
Can you remember anything else about the roads, Garen? What was on them?
They were long and twisted, and one led up into a set of knife-like mountains, and there were fire and flame all around. And the other path led through a sickly green swamp kind of place. There was something in the swamp, though. I could see it. It was enormous. It made ripples the size of waves. I don't know what was in there, but it seemed hungry.
It's really interesting. I pat my pocket. I'm looking for my dreidel. Pull it out in the middle of my palm. Keep telling me about it, Tomas. It sounds really interesting. I'd like to try to use divine sense on him.
The dreidel spins on your palm, and it doesn't light up. There is neither a fiend, nor a celestial, nor an undead within the range of your ability.
Put it away. I say, Tomas, tell Silvera we found Elturel. We made it through. We're here. We found Duke Ravengard and the Helm of Torm. We're going to try to bring them all back to the world.
A lot of names.
It's important, Tomas. Just tell Silvera we made it, we haven't given up, and we're still all coming back.
All right, brother. You have to promise me that you're not going to die.
Can't kill me.
I'll miss you.
Yeah, I miss the days in Insight Park, Tomas. We'll have to go back there together. I'll come and see you at Candlekeep and we'll make a little visit.
That would be great. I really like that. Garen, I feel like I'm getting better here. I want... And then he disappears.
Good night, Tomas.
And then you wake up. Ofelia, please make your wisdom saving throw.
That's going to be a 17 wisdom save.
Okay. Your dream, Ofelia, as you slip into unconsciousness, it is more of a memory. When you close your eyes and then your mind's eye reopens, you are sitting at a desk. The desk is old and worn, and it sits among perhaps a dozen other desks in the small, cramped classroom at the College of New Olam in Waterdeep. And you remember this very well. This time, you were a frustrated musical student who was admitted to this prestigious musical university. But as you sit there with blank sheets of music staring back up at you and a quill in your right hand, just can't find your spark. There's something within you that can't come down on paper, no matter how hard you try.
Pick up the quill, close my eyes, and I try so hard to focus and concentrate and just try to imagine the melody in my head to sum up everything I'm feeling. I place my quill on the paper, but it's no use. I start to write. I start frantically crossing out and redoing the notes. It's all wrong. She crumples page after page of paper and throws it off to the side until all of the pages are gone. They're lying on the floor.
The scene fades to another scene. This in your room, in the university at night. And your eyes are blankly looking at the ceiling. You're still awake in the middle of the night. You're trying to come up with some kind of inspiration. You know exams are coming soon and you haven't done a lick of work. And your anxiety is just crippling you.
Never be able to write anything good enough to impress anybody. Why am I even here? Why did I think I was good enough to become a professional musician? It's no use. Just going to let everyone down. Just wish I had something really special. Something different. Something to set myself apart from my peers.
You say this, of course, all in your mind. And it is in your head that there is a response. You hear a whisper that comes through in your mind, and it is just a single word. Follow. The voice seems to be coming from in your head, but also from outside your room. It's almost like you can hear the echo of it coming from outside.
Ofelia steps out of bed, pulls on a cloak, and wanders into the hallway.
There's no one in the hall at this time of night. The candelabra are fitted with candles, which are, at this time, almost all the way burnt down, which gives a eerie orange glow to the hallway that you're in right now. But again, you hear that voice, this from a little bit further away down the hall. Follow.
Ofelia shakes her head. She's having trouble believing this could be real and not just the result of sleep deprivation, but for whatever reason, she feels compelled, and she continues to follow the voice down the hallway.
The voice is always at the same distance. No matter how fast you run to try to catch up to it, it's always just a little bit out of your reach. But it constantly beckons you to follow it. And you do. You follow it up a set of winding stairs, down a set of hallways that you've never been to before here in the college, past classrooms that are older perhaps than the ones that you remember ever taking classes in. And at the end of a dusty hallway, there is a door. This door is crusted with cobwebs and filth. It seems like it hasn't been opened in a very, very long time. And yet the voice beckons you now, this time from behind this door. And it says something different. It says, open.
Ofelia pauses before opening the door. She tries to communicate with the voice in her mind. She just thinks the words, "What are you? Who are you?"
There's a 5-second silence. And then the response is one word again, and it is glory.
Ofelia opens the door.
When you open the door, you see a dark antechamber within. No light, simply dust, cobwebs, and a strangely decorated chest in the middle of the room.
Strangely decorated how?
There are no letters or runes or anything like this on this chest, but there are pictures, pictographs, perhaps. There are musical notes inscribed on its surface, as well as strange they look almost like long curving S's that wind their way around the trunk, like some kind of tentacled being embracing the wood of the chest.
I want to trace my fingers along the side of a few of the notes, perhaps hum them out loud. Does anything happen?
No, but as you start to hum these notes, you do sort of get an inkling that this is actually a beautiful beginning to a melody. It's simply the beginning, but it is an inspiration that you were missing.
Well, that's all she needs. She opens the chest.
You see that the chest is unfortunately locked.
I frantically search around the room for a key.
You don't have to make any checks here. You look around the room. The room is completely barren except for this chest.
What does the lock look like?
The lock seems to be a combination lock. But instead of numbers, it does seem to be a combination of musical notes.
I want to try to start to turn it to the notes as they pertain to the pattern around the box, around the chest.
You do so, the lock does not open. Too easy.
She lifts the lock to her ear. She begins to turn, hoping to hear a click as she gets to a certain note.
Okay, this time I'll ask you to make a perception check.
Yeah, that was an 11.
It's not the kind of thing where, unfortunately, you can hear, as you start to turn these dials, any kind of perceptible clicks.
I want to get into this box. She tries tugging at the lock, pulling at the lock.
It is a pretty sturdy one, old as it is. I'll ask you to make a strength check.
So that's a 7 that I've rolled.
Completely useless against the metal of this lock.
She begins to cry a bit, getting frustrated. She turns the box around, kind of shaking it, seeing if she can find any sort of gap or panel in it.
When you pick it up, it's actually pretty light. You shake it up and down, and you hear what sounds like the ruffle of paper inside.
Ofelia begins to hum the full melody around the notes that are inscribed around the chest, turning it over and over.
Make a performance check.
Okay. That is a 14.
It's a decent rendition, and as you begin to hum these notes, you do in fact hear the lock click.
I open the chest.
You open the chest. You see, scattered throughout the inside of this velvet-lined chest, a set of yellowed pages, all with musical notation on them.
She flips through the pages.
As you flip through them, you are astounded. This is perhaps the work of a maestro, one who does not seem to indicate their name. It simply indicates the name of the piece. The piece is Symphony 9, Opus 34, for violin.
She takes the music, holds it to her chest, and walks out of the room, back down the hallway.
The scene fades, and we see a very short sort of a montage of Ofelia playing on her violin, at first slowly and perhaps a little conservatively. This very vibrant, very energetic piece. It is an allegro time. It is very quick, has a lot of short staccato pieces to it. There are places where you need to go pizzicato and need to play the violin with just your fingertips plucking at the strings. And you see this general progression where Ofelia begins to learn this piece so that she doesn't even have to read the music, that it becomes part of her natural understanding of how to play the violin. You see her becoming much more passionate about playing this piece over and over and over again. She practices until her fingers bleed and the blood runs down the violin into the strings. And after she finishes her final portion, the final 16 bars of practicing this piece, she knows that this was meant for her, and she is ready for her final exam the following day. The scene fades again, this time to a massive theater lined with murals and tapestries, some of which have the symbol of the College of New Olam. There are 200 to 300 seats in this theater, and all of them are filled with people from Waterdeep. They're dressed to the nines, they have their finest clothes on, and they are all raucously discussing the final exam of Ofelia Liadon, yet to come, her final recital piece, as part of her becoming a master violinist within the college. Ofelia, you're standing in the wings.
Takes a deep breath. He feels nervous, but ready. She peeks just through the side of the curtain a little. Can I see my parents in the front row?
They're there. They have wonderful smiles on their face, and they are just delighted.
And my music teacher, my mentor, he's there?
Yep. Perhaps in the corner, he's waiting. He sort of looks at his pocket watch, looks back, arches his neck so he can see you in the wings, gives you a little wave, gives you the thumbs up.
She nods at him. She closes her eyes. She takes a deep breath, and she steps onto the stage.
At first, a smattering of applause, and then it grows in volume and intensity to an explosion of gratitude for you being on the stage. Just your own presence is enough to make them so wonderfully happy and so positive about the music that you're going to now perform.
It is second nature to her at this point. As you said, she's practiced so long and so hard. It's as if the music is almost in her blood at this point. She begins to play, and the piece sounds better to her ear than it ever has, even in the longest of rehearsals. Something is just the magic of this moment. She's swept away, and she begins to play.
The music is in your blood, and the blood is in the music. As you begin to play, the music flows from you like water through a sieve and washes over the audience, and you can just feel their reciprocation, their silent joy at just listening to the immense talent that you have and your connection with your instrument. And as you play and begin to get to the zenith of your energy, you begin to play through these enormous and extremely complicated bars of music where you have to go so swiftly through these notes as if the spirit of music is just infusing you with speed and precision. As you close your eyes and invest yourself fully into your performance, you feel cold. This coldness doesn't feel environmental, though. It feels like it comes from within you. This icy chill that begins in your core and begins to filter out through your body and into your limbs. But still you persist. You can't stop now. You're not even at the end. You're not even close to the end. You have to keep going. This is fear. This is fear taking over for you. What do you do?
I play faster and faster. Now I'm just trying to get through it as quickly as I can. I just want it to be over. I don't like it anymore.
It's threatening you. It's taking over, but you have to move on. Make a performance check.
That's a 17.
Your fingers fly, your bow moves over the violin like you were God sent to do it. And as you do so, the music spills from your instrument and bounds off of the walls of the theater, and there is a vast silence. Your eyes stay shut. You must stay invested in the music. And that's when you hear a scream from the back of the theater. Your eyes, you want to open them, but something inside you is saying, no. If you open your eyes, you'll lose focus. Everything will go. You must stay focused. You still see your eyes stay shut. Your violin flies. The music flies out of it and into the audience, and there is another scream, and another scream, and a choking gurgle. And someone screams out, stop! And then another one, you hear the thump and screams erupt throughout the theater. And there is a just horrendous wail that comes from all of the audience members. But your eyes remain shut.
I try to pull my arm with the bow away from the violin.
You cannot. It goes as if not even controlled by you any longer. It moves over the strings like a force was controlling you from without and from within.
Do I still feel cold?
Through every cell in your body.
I guess I play on.
10 to 15 seconds later, there are no more screams. There are no more gasps or wails of pain. There is only a pure silence. You splay out your arms and pant with the exertion and are able to finally open your eyes. The audience of hundreds of spectators, of listeners, the scene is a vast jumble of their bodies. You see dozens of them piled on top of each other, some still in their seats, their eyes wide and staring, black ichor coming out of their nose and mouth. Some in the aisles, trying to reach an exit vainly. You also see that there are those in the balconies who have fallen stories, 1 story, 2 story perhaps, onto those below, killing not only them, but those below them. You see some hanging from the balconies as well, that died perhaps halfway, just trying to relieve the anguish that they felt. There's no one alive. Even as you look into the wings, your fellow students lie unmoving, their eyes staring. You are the only one within the sound of your violin that has survived.
What have I done? Dear gods, what have I done? She drops her violin.
There's a clang of wood as it strikes the stage.
Does it break?
It doesn't.
She picks it up and she smashes it harder against the stage.
That time it breaks. The strings come apart. The wooden instrument flies into a million pieces.
She drops the bow and what's left of the violin. She runs out of the auditorium. She runs and she runs and she runs. At some point, she doesn't even know where she's running anymore.
The scene fades to a room in an inn where you sit hugging your knees days later. Of course, by this time, all Waterdeep knows about the massacre at the College of New Olam. Reports suggest that there was some kind of an outbreak of plague that affected everyone in a very small vicinity within the audience. Other periodicals suggest that maybe some nefarious individual had slipped something into the ventilation system, poisoning all those within. But you know the truth. And what is even perhaps more frightening to you is what you remember after waking the next morning in your bed in the inn. Is your violin, pristine and beautiful, laying with its bow atop on a chair just across from you. And from within the violin, you only hear one word come to your mind, and it says, glory. And then you wake up. Thanks for listening. This episode featured Tal Aviezer as Renascence, Andy Cannistra as Painbearer Corbin Shiv, Carolyn Fox as Hylan, Rachel Tamarin as Ofelia, and me, Matt Gordon, as the Dungeon Master. This episode was edited by Carolyn Fox and Tal Aviezer. Our original theme music is by Lauren Anker and Anthony DiMasso. Remember, if you enjoy Podcast Party, please follow the show, rate us, and leave us a review. Thanks very much for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode.
No recording.
Okay.
Right.
It's also, I may have done 4 claps. I'm not certain.
I think you did.
I got
I
thrown
definitely
off
heard
by
4
everybody
claps.
else. I was
I
like,
didn't
wait,
wanna
how
say
many
it.
did I do?
I didn't want to be that guy who's like, who clapped 4 times?
You panicked.
Son of a bitch.
Okay, now Craig is on, so we're gonna clap again on the count of 3. It's gonna be but it's not on 3. It's gonna be like as it always is. 1, 2, 3,
Mhm.
clap, clap, clap.
Clap, clap,
Okay. So ready? 1, 2, 3. Close enough. All right. We're great.